Hello everybody. I'm on one of these sites on Facebook, and one of the things that seems to be cropping up a lot is the 216G, and they were originally built in Germany in about 1954, something like that. And what happened was that they were for really only the domestic market, and what happened was that they were sold to American servicemen and Canadian servicemen, and they were shipped off back to America and Canada, and even though they've got Singer on them, they're nothing really to do with Singer, apart from the Singer had bought the company out just after the war, and as a stopgap they were making the 216. This is made by a company called Haid und Neu, which was a very, very good German company, and Singer wanted to get them to start producing aluminium bodied machines, and the stopgap was that they did a range of machines from the previous owners of it to actually keep them going, keep them in business, and whilst they were being retooled up. So basically Singer used the old machines, put a few things on them that made them Singer, that being one, that being one, that being one, and one of those. So they look like a Singer, but they're actually not. The internal workings are Haid and Neu. It's based on a model called an LZ, which started roughly at the beginning of the 1930s, mid-30s, something like that, and it rattled through until about the 50s. Now you've got the 216G here, and you've got the 316G here. These are both cast models, virtually identical underneath and some of the upper parts, but there's slight difference where you actually use a plastic can there, so you can get different zigzag shapes and things like that. But effectively, they're pretty much the same machine, just slight change of the actual bodies, but like I say, the same machines. Now, the interesting thing about this is what the Singer 201 was straight to the straight stitch. I'll put my neck out and say this was the 201 of the zigzag machines. They're absolutely phenomenal. They weigh an absolute ton. If you've got a 201, well, that's a lightweight in comparison. Beautiful machines, so well engineered, and they're just absolutely wonderful. If you see a 216G up for sale, no matter what the price, buy it. If it's in working condition and there's no bits removed or anything like that, I would go as far, just buy it at any price, because they're not very common, and they're certainly not common in Britain. I've only seen one on eBay, and that was an aluminium bodied one. They did change this one like they did with the 201, where they went from cast to aluminium, and they changed the shape of them. So they are phenomenal, and highly recommend it. Now, the thing about them was that they keep turning up in the USA, some in good condition, some in not so good condition, and a couple of them came up on the site in America, and I said, well, I'll show you how I got mine going again. The problem with them is the previous owners decided on both these machines put grease in the gearbox, which I'll show you shortly. And what had happened was that the grease had gone hard, it had gone up the shafts into the bushings and locked these machines up solid. This one I got about 1/8 of a turn and then it locked up, absolutely solid, that one. This one also was locked up solid, couldn't turn anything, nothing would move, and both machines, I think if they'd fallen into the wrong hands, both of them would have been scrapped, either broken down for parts or scrapped. The other thing about these is there are no or very, very little spare parts for these machines, so you have to be incredibly careful on how you start them up, how you get them going, for the simple reason that you cannot get any parts, and they are assembled differently from ordinary singers. They use tapered pins, things like that, things where you go use a hammer and a drift and things like that, which is a little bit scary if you don't know what you're doing with them. So with this one and that one, it was only a limited strip down, and just got the whole things going again. It took me 3.5 weeks of getting this one sorted, in the sense I had to keep on flushing the gearbox out with kerosene and paraffin and oil, 50-50 mix, until it eventually broke down all the old grease, which you don't use on the machines, because these are 100% oil only machines. You do not use grease, you do not use tri-flow oils or greases or anything like that. The only thing you use on this machine is Singer oil, which I've been using for about 15-20 years now, and the reason for that is that it's 100% compatible with kerosene. Kerosene will break it down, clean your machine out, and you just re-oil it and off you go. So this one, that was equally as bad, frozen up. The grease had turned from a consistency of very hard chocolate to concrete, glazed over, solid as a rock. Nothing was turning, nothing was going to go. So what I did with this one, I got industrial degreaser, put it in and steam cleaned the whole machine out, and that cleared it. Soon as I was able to break it down, it then started turning and it was off. And then it was just a simple matter of cleaning it up, and off I went. Right, so to save a bit of time so I don't run out of film, I will show you how to go about dealing with this machine, which is the 216G. I've got the manual, well, what you're actually given, that's in German. They did do an English version for to sell them to the troops, and then they just ship them back. So they keep popping up. I think I've seen about between about 30 and 50 of these turning up in various states, but they're usually in a pretty poor state, and they seem to be coming out of Arizona, if anywhere, which is good because there shouldn't be too much rust on them. But I'll show you how I got this one going again, and I'd advise anybody to go down this route because it's the minimum amount of disruption to the machine, not a stripping back because you haven't got the parts and you're in danger of breaking things if you start messing around with it. So I'll just quickly change things around a bit, so just move this back and move this forward slightly. So just make sure you're in focus. There you go. So first of all, if it has got its original motor on, if it's got its original lamp on, I'll remove all the electrics, because the electrics you're going to have to rewire, because they used to use vulcanized rubber on the actual as a sheath, an insulator on the wires, and after 70 odd years, it all breaks down, and you can actually get live wires touching your machine. You don't want that. You need to definitely rewire the entire machine, and that includes the lamp and your motor. The motor has a wicking system. You need really to get in there and change the wicks, and you only use on here, or what I use is the motor and gear lubricant, which is so retro, so grease, because this is a high temperature melting point. It's not a low one. You hear people say, oh, it's all about temperature. No, it's not. This is a high temperature melting point. I've tested it, and I'm more than happy with it, for the reason that it is almost identical to the original stuff, what Singer advised you to actually put in the ports. So you need new wicks. The whole armature needs to come out, be cleaned up, rewired, and possibly new bushes as well, but this one was okay. And then when you've got the clean wicks in, you just pop that, squeeze some in. I'll just put a little bit more in for luck, and there you go. Now there's no pre-loading of the wicks like some people are advising, because what happens is that the wicks suck out the oil out of this grease, because this is a mixture of an oil, and it has a base of some sort, and you just put it in, leave it overnight, and it will then lubricate your shaft. So what you need to do, and I'll just have to keep going with this one, for the simple reason that I don't want to run out of time on the filming. So just undo that, unscrew your lamp, turn around, then you've got the big nut for your motor, which is pretty standard Singer type. And before you do that, you need to just undo this one as well, which is your rear plate, and you just need to save that, bring that down a little bit. Turn that back around. Okay. Now you've got your motor off, you hand that over to somebody who is competent with electrics, or who is a trained electrician to do this. Doing it by yourself, I wouldn't recommend it. You have to have a good working knowledge of electrics. You have to have test equipment. People say on eBay, oh yes, it's so easy to rewire a motor. Yeah, it is if you know what you're doing. But the thing is that what I've seen on eBay, YouTube, hasn't really impressed me at all, because they use the same coloured wires, which is usually black. They should be multicoloured for identification, but that's a different story, and I don't really want us to get tied in with that one. I got this actually from Germany. This was during lockdown, so I imported this machine from Germany. The other one, the 316, I actually got locally. It was only about 5 miles away, so that was excellent. But I imported this one because we were still in the EU and things were very cheap to import it into the UK. Right, so next thing, that will undo, bring that plate away. Now you can either screw that screw back down or put it in a pot, something like that. And I'm not going to do it on this one because I know everything's working fine, but what you do here is you tighten that screw down there, you bring that into the centre, you undo the two screws only halfway on that one, take that one out and then take that one away, and then you just bring that off, twist it off, and then you can look into the actual inside of the machine. So you've got that, you then raise the machine and you bring the plate off, which on a good day, no, either way, a bit difficult this one. There you go. And then I move to the underneath the machine, bring that back. And they are so heavy. I'm just going to leave the belt on there. Right, so I've removed all the plates, front and back and side. Now, people attach these up to the electricity and start them off. I don't do that. What I do is I grip the hand wheel or balance wheel or flywheel, whichever, and I gently rock and see if this will turn. Okay, so this is turning, so that's good news. So I know that this machine's not frozen up. Now if it was frozen up and I suddenly get a clunk, rather than holding it and pulling it around, my fingers would just skid on the chrome. So I'm not gripping it, I'm just holding it like that, just seeing what's happening with the machine. If it is frozen, then my hands would just skid and haven't damaged the machine. And then I start to look actually what the problem is. Right. So I haven't started it on the motor. I found out it's moving, so that's good news. And what I would do, starting from the top, which actually I should have done right at the beginning, is brush all the machine off, get all the dust off, and then you, with a dry brush, brush off all the lint all around the machine, at the back, everywhere you can see, and that's just to clear your lint, because normally there'd be sort of fluff bunnies in there. Okay, so that's that one. Then I'm going to tilt the machine and hopefully these books will be just right. The other thing you can test is whether your dogs drop up and down, which they are doing, so that's okay. The other thing is your bias. So you've got right bias there, central in line with the needle, and left bias. So that's working okay. So I'm just going around the machine, just making sure that things appear to be okay. This is for your actual zigzag, and that's okay as well. And the important thing is that I'm not turning it that much. I'm only just doing a few checks, just making sure it's okay, because if there's any grit or sand or whatever inside this machine that needs washing out, if you attach this up to the motor, and you can do a lot of damage very, very quickly. One, it's not being oiled, so you're going to have metal on metal, and if you've got nasty grit in there or dust or anything, you're going to really start screwing up your machine. So I'm just doing a few little checks, making sure that everything's sort of moving. Yeah, everything's okay. So I now go to the underneath. I'll just see if I can. Yeah, okay. That's the underneath part. You have your bobbin case with bobbin. Now just make sure that if you pick up these machines from somebody, just make sure you get the bobbins, because these are slightly larger, I believe, than the standard 15. The standard 15 bobbin won't necessarily work on your bobbin winder. I have found some 15s that will work on it, some 15 bobbins that won't. So the thing is, just make sure you get your bobbin and your bobbin case. Okay, you've got a little lever here, flick that across, and you've got a door which then exposes your hook. So you clean that, you clean everything as you're going. Okay, you then move to your gearbox. Now I recommend that you do this for two reasons. One, that just to make sure that nobody's put any grease in incorrectly, and the other thing is you might as well, whilst you're there, give it a good clean and get it restarted. Okay, so whoa, no, okay, find the small one. Okay, let's see if this one works. Here you go. Right. Remove that plate, and as you can see, there's no grease in there because I've removed it. I do have photographs of it, and it was an absolute nightmare in there. I had to virtually chisel the stuff out. Now, if you have got to clean this out, what you use is a coffee stirring stick, and what you can do is you can trim this to any shape you like, and you can scrape this out, because you don't really want to use metal tools, because these gears are so good, you don't want to scratch them or anything like that. So you flush it out with kerosene, scrape it all out, get the grease out, and this is actually, I don't know, just try and move in a bit. Okay. Now this is the beating heart of the machine, just like the 201, and for 201 users as well, you do not put grease on the three sets of gears, which would be about there and one at the top. What you are told on YouTube is absolute garbage. Okay, you do not grease them. They are oil gears, and these are oscillating gears, so they just go backwards and forwards. And the thing about them is that they are only working on a few teeth within this machine, and they're absolutely wonderful, so well engineered. Okay, so what you do, and of course I forgot to bring it with me, just pause for a minute. You get some kerosene or paraffin, and you flush that out, and you also give them a scrub. Okay, scrub your gears, just turn it slightly, give it another scrub, turn it again, clean another bit, but don't let them trap your bristles of your toothbrush. Right. Now kerosene, not the nicest of stuff, best done outside, and what you do is you then clean all these moving areas. If you see it move, you give it a clean, give it a scrub everywhere on all the friction points, things like that, and you know you're not going to harm your machine. It is actually advised by Singer to do this. Check that this moves, and that drops your dogs, so that needs cleaning. And then when you've done that, you then go up to the top, and I'll just come back a bit. Now, one of the areas that is particularly bad is behind your hook. That needs cleaning off as well. Your whole race needs cleaning. So a good strong toothbrush, give it a clean after you've brushed out all the lint with your paintbrush, as it were. Give it a good clean. Make sure that everything is now in a far better state. Close the door, which is relying on where it is on the dogs. Yeah, there you go. Drop it back down. So you've cleaned the underneath, and you can start at the top. And if you get something to protect the base, there you go, like that, then you can scrub all these areas out, making sure that everything appears to be working. You've got your tension discs. This will actually take 2 threads for a twin needle, and you've actually got 3 tension discs in there, so they've thought of everything, typically German. That's working okay. Now, what I personally do is I remove this first of all. Okay, this doesn't have a washer, by the way. Move that, remove the spring. I undo this screw here, and I remove the actual presser foot. I take the presser foot off. I'm not actually going to do it because it's all set and ready to go. Remove the stitch cutter, which is going to be very difficult. There you go. So these, as you can see, it's starting to hold oil, but you just clean it off. You need to clean the underneath here. If you're going to pass this back up through the machine, that has to be spotless. Clean that. Undo that screw there. That should then disconnect the actual presser foot bar. Now, usually they are pretty gummed up, and they don't move particularly well. They won't just flip out, but they are very, very important that this keeps in time with the needle here, because the press bar has to go up and down with the dogs along with the needle. So you've got this toing and throwing, and one thing you can do is that if it is gummed up, is just put gentle pressure, thumb pressure, trying to turn that rod. Okay, now if it's not having it, I then advise you to very, very carefully and gently get a small adjustable spanner. You pop it on there and you gently rock. Only a few degrees, nothing, no big movements, nothing to bend that. What you do is you just gently rock that in its position, and then it will eventually give up. If you put some kerosene on there, maybe a bit of oil as well, you can then remove the entire bar, okay? Because your bar will then, oh what the hell, just give me a moment. Okay, so I've undone that screw, and as you can see that's still tight in there. I'll get the adjustable spanner and I gently move, right, so that's gone broken. Sometimes they go with a crack because the actual seal is so tight you can actually hear it go. Once you've done that, you then push up from underneath, and then that starts raising up. Right, that's gone up nicely, and you then bring this out, okay, remembering on these other parts how they look, okay. I wasn't going to do this, but you've talked me into it. Right, okay, so you remove the bar, remove its holder, and you've got this bit here as well. That gets removed, and you've also got this bit which is pushing the what do you call it, the tension discs there. Right, so this now allows you better access into the machine, and you can clearly see now things that are improving. I'll just zoom in slightly. You can now get in there and give everything a good clean. Okay, one area to note is up here you've got a hole. That is a screw-in hinge, so this allows that to rock backwards and forwards so you can get your zigzag in. You have oil holes here, and I think there's a couple more on that side. You've got one at the top there, and you've got one down at the bottom here. So the thing is that this gives you really good access inside, and the oil hole there as well. Inside the machine, it allows you to get well in there, clear it, and you can then oil it after a certain time. So this has allowed you, just by removing this, which is very, very simple, very straightforward. I always do it routinely because this has got to go up and down in tune. Right, that's stiff because I haven't used this machine in a while, so it needs oil. I'll take it out, clean it. Okay. And the other thing I would clean the bottom one with is a small bottle brush. Clean that out as well with kerosene, and then get that in there, get that working, and there you go. Now that is starting to come, the oil's getting in there now, so that is now going up and down, as you can imagine, with the spring on it. So that will now keep in time with that, because if that is gummed and it doesn't push down as it should, what happens is your work won't be as good because it's not keeping pressure on the actual material. Okay, so I'll put all that back in later. So I'll just move these to one side. Then we come to the actual this part here, and as you can see, it's quite complex inside. It's interesting in one way because a Bernina 117, which I've got the Spanish version, but it is a Bernina 117. They have brought all this round the front part, and it looks incredibly similar to this. And the thing is that you can see they have been sort of stealing one another's thing. Most likely Bernina did it first, but this does look slightly like a Bernina part, and they've just turned it. Bernina turned it round, and this is the back part. I'm not going to go too much into that, but the thing is now you then have to clean all this out with kerosene, and as you're going, when you because kerosene sort of splatters all over the place, just wash it off, wipe it off your machine as you're going around. And what you do, clean all this, turn it a little bit, keep turning a bit more. Then what you can do, if you can get a glass syringe, fill up your glass syringe and squirt in kerosene into your oil holes here, and this will flush out any debris, dust, muck, anything like that that would do the machine harm, because you get metal with a piece of grit in it will just ruin it. Give it all a good clean and just leave it. You've also got a oil hole there, you've got an oil hole there, and there, and there. Sorry, I'll repeat that. You have an oil hole there, you have an oil hole there, you have one there, one there, one here at the bottom there, three on top, one there, and one there. On your base, you have an oil hole there, two there, one there, and most importantly of all this is your oil hole for your gears. Okay, so your oil goes into there and you give that a good oiling, and away you go. Right, so you've taken off all the grease, you've taken off all the old oil that's possibly gumming up your machine. It may actually start stiffening up the machine because you've lost that bit of oil between your two surfaces. So if it starts getting stiff, don't worry about it. It's doing its job. I would leave it overnight to drip. Let all the kerosene just one, evaporate, and two, you evaporate off and just drip out. So on the tray underneath, I put a piece of newspaper. Keep away from fire, things like naked flames, things like that. And now hopefully the next morning you'll be able to then oil the machine just using this stuff, just adding your oil, to oil points there, one there, a couple up there, anything that moves where you see friction against thing, just add oil and just keep turning it, allow it to work in. Now, because you've used kerosene, it will actually thin down the oil significantly where it's not really doing its job properly. So what I do is I oil earlier, and rather than running it for a day or doing it every 8 hours, I would come in earlier, about 2 to 4 hours, and eventually that oil will then go back up to full strength, and then you're away then. So that is basically it to get this machine going again. After that, if there's any adjustment that needs doing, then that's a totally different kettle of fish, as we say. But that is just to get your machine turning properly with some lubricant in there, and off you go. Okay, so thanks very much for watching. 216G, buy it. 316G, buy it. Virtually the same machine, same workings and all that. So I'm going to put this back together again and have an afternoon sewing. So thanks very much. Any questions I'll try and answer, but it's fairly straightforward. But like I say, there are no spare parts that I know of, and that's including Germany. I wouldn't say they were rare in Germany, but they are not common, and they are certainly not common anywhere else around the world. And if you can get one, then grab it. Thanks very much. Bye now.